Right, welcome back to Breaking Today. So many of you are concerned about the Chinese working in the country. Their names also, trust me, those are the names and well pronounced. Now, moving on, following various government successions from the era of founding father mzee Jomo Kenyatta, the late President Daniel Moi, former President Mwai Kibaki, and now the reigning regime of President Uhuru Kenyatta, one thing that has been constant is a list of unkept promises and failed policies that have ultimately shaped the course of Kenya's history. David KAGINA now with more.
When the late President Daniel Moi received the mantle of leadership from the founding father mzee Jomo Kenyatta, Kenya's economy was devastated and ailing from the side effects of oil shocks of 1973 and 1979, coupled with gross mismanagement of the coffee boom between 1976 and 1977. The poor economic run was aggravated by a number of setbacks in the early 80s, which included the 1982 attempted coup by the Kenya Air Force and severe droughts of 1983 and 1984, and that of 1991 to 1992, followed by the extremely destructive El Nino rains in 1997 and 1998. After 24 years of Moi's tenure, the economy had still not recovered. However, tremendous landmarks were made in the field of higher education in Kenya, which saw the creation of the Ministry of Higher Education in 1978, followed by a directive by the University of Nairobi to expand enrollment and innovate its programs. Fast forward to the current regime. Despite the booming figures reflecting on Kenya's GDP, many feel there has never been a worse economic time in the country. And just like salespeople, the current Jubilee government came into power in 2013 through, among them, a promise to provide almost 1 million devices with Class 1 and Class 2 content to all public schools in a bid to increase digital literacy, something that is yet to be achieved. Some promises that are yet to see the light of day 7 years into Jubilee leadership are creation of 1.3 million jobs every year, food security, universal health coverage, and a significant growth in the manufacturing sector, among others. According to Philip Mwangale, a governance and policy expert, such policies were just but a bait.
It is not the leaders who have visions for the country. They come up, they have a desire to lead, and then they find think tanks, if you may, think tanks that will inform what they will go to the masses with. So the Jubilee Manifesto was crafted out of political scientists, it was crafted out of political propagandists, people who understood what the masses would want and what the masses will have appealed to them for them to elect the Jubilee government.
After retaining power in 2017, 2 years later, the focus appears to have shifted and the country is now no longer talking of development agendas. Rather, it is focused on the Building Bridges initiative, a document that many Kenyans are still in the dark about. Recently, the president in a public meeting in Nakuru said that his main agenda at the moment was peace.
Legacies are not worked for. And this is something that I think the president and his handlers need to understand, that you do not work towards a legacy. A legacy is left. And it is upon those that look back towards your service that determine that you have left a legacy.
But where exactly is the problem? Is it the politicians who are liars? Is it the voters who are not as intelligent on their voting decisions, or are the goals just unachievable?
The dreams are not too big. In fact, in my estimation, I think they do not match up to our capacity as a nation. They are too small for us.
The late President Daniel Moi, however, appeared to have an answer as to where the problem is, despite failures by his regime to raise Kenya's economic profile and the coming in of the much sought after multi-party democracy that is now being modified through the Building Bridges initiative.
Power iko kwa wananchi, na sisi tu ni wadhamini yao, na ndio nataka kuambia wananchi wetu wanaotafuta democracy, tafadhali muwe na principle ya kuamini yale mnayoamini.
David KAGINA, Switch TV.
All right, now KAGINA joins us from Studio B, and it's clear that the regime still carries forward unkept promises, and it's something very conspicuous because we know how these governments work. And KAGINA, from your report, it's clear that things are not really happening as they should. But again, it's power, and sometimes when you get in power, you forget the things you promised Kenyans who actually put you where you are.
Actually, Mudimba, my summary of the whole incident would be Kenya presidency, or rather the leadership, is a relay. But every time we elect a new leader, they want to start off with a new baton. They don't want to pass on the baton that they had. They don't want to start off with the baton from the initial athlete in the race of leadership.
So, looking at President, that is Jomo Kenyatta, the late, and of course Daniel Moi, the late president, and now the regime currently going on. Can you maybe give us just the similarities? Because yes, we've kind of summarized what this thing means about unkept promises, just the same way of governance. But now, look at the similarities, KAGINA.
Some of the similarities that really stand out are some of the challenges that face the country as a whole. You find that in Kenyatta's time, there was the stuff about the coffee coup. In Moi's time, there was a coup of the government, which brought really down the economy and really startled it to some extent. During Kibaki's time, we were recovering from the post-election violence. And during Uhuru's time, you can find that distractions. Right now, we are distracted. I can say something that is really standing out are the distractions that are coming along the way and preventing the leaders from delivering.
All right. There's also the issue of trust. You know, trust is something very important in governance. And do you think Kenyans are now waking up from that slumber? There was this issue about just maybe voting in terms of maybe tribal cocoons inspiring you to vote for your person or for your people. But do you think Kenyans are learning now with the fact that even so many retired, for example, clerics are coming out to kind of instill some sense into many Kenyans? Do you think we will learn from this?
The truth is bitter, but the truth is we haven't yet learned. If you look at the case in BBI, it is clearly demonstrating the state in which Kenya is right now. We're still dependent on the leaders and the takes they're taking.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You know, KAGINA, there's also issue about our leaders coming down to the ground after 5 years. In Kenya, you know very well, they vanish, come back to the ground of 5 years. But the presidency has been on the spot this time around. Looking at Moi's death, it's something that has been a wake-up call even for Kenyans. And we're being remembered of a regime that was harsh. Let me say, it used to blow hot and cold. Do you think right now, as much as there's so much freedom in this country, Kenyans will realize that indeed, as a country, we are very lucky?
I would say, yes, we are lucky because of democracy, but we are losing the point. What was democracy there for? The democracy initially was meant to come and benefit the Kenyans, but if we look at the things right now, Mudimba, you'll agree with me, as much as we have the democracy, yes, we can speak this, yes, we can express our opinions, give what we are thinking, but we are losing as a country. If you look at the economic, yes, we have an increase in GDP, but in our pockets, we're still complaining the same way.
All right. Thank you very much, Bwana David KAGINA, for your sentiments. Hope Kenyans will learn. And as we talk about unkept promises, as we talk about the inheritance of a vacuum or inheritance of some porous decisions, let's hope Kenyans will learn.